Hey guys, it's Rich Boy Jay here, back again with another video, and this is going to be episode 6 of the Vardos MOC build series. You can see that I positioned myself a little bit off-center just so you guys can get somewhat of a glimpse of the MOC in the background while I'm talking this opening segment. I also think that that's such a cool shot, like it really is kind of coming together in that area of the MOC. It's just looking more and more like something. But moving forward, before I get into the actual video, I just want to say thank you to all of the donators on this week's live streams. If you guys didn't know, anyone who donates a super chat on the live streams that I do during the week will get a shout out in all of these videos. So this week's donators are Garrett, Jedi Bob, and Marfan20Gee. And no, that is not the Garrett that I work with yet. It is another Garrett. And I think last week we had another donator named Garrett. So lots of Garretts going around. Clearly Garrett's a great name, and there are a lot of cool boyos named Garrett. But moving forward, this week I'm really happy with how I was able to get done. You guys can see the little glimpse of the wall that I finally started working on. I'd been talking about that since pretty much the first episode I did in this series, and I finally got a chance to work on it and get it somewhat completed, at least on this side of the MOC, which I'm very happy about. I also worked on extending the landing platform towards that way, so you can see that it's moving a little bit toward the side where the Imperial shuttle is going to be landing and dropping off troops, which is great because that means that I can finally have that thing situated somewhere and then start figuring out where the minifigures are going to be placed, as well as where a lot of the cargo crates are going to be placed, because there's so much cargo going all around this MOC on the landing platform. One of the unfortunate things is I wasn't able to add any more lights to the MOC. In fact, I had to take a few away just because I realized that they were going to get in the way as I extended the landing platform, but that is totally fine. I have some parts on the way to put together some spotlights on the sides of the MOC, and I think those are going to change the aesthetic of it completely. So without further ado, guys, let's jump right into the MOC. And let's talk about Vardos. The first thing I want to show you guys is that like I said in the intro, have been extending the landing platform, so you can see that as it really goes over this way, there isn't really too much detail in the ground. I checked in the game very thoroughly. One thing that does exist though are a bunch of these types of lights, like they're going to be lining that area of the MOC, so I'll definitely have to take that into account. Also, one nice thing is I've been able to hide the battery box, which is actually just in here, and of course this will be fully enclosed whenever I get to that point in the MOC, but the idea is just, that's the battery box. Works out. I can turn the lights on and off from there, so works pretty well. And I'm glad I finally have that concealed, because that's honestly going to be one of the more challenging aspects of this MOC that I haven't really had to consider before, concealing the wires. So got a lot of that to worry about, but I'm glad that it is at least trending in the right direction. Moving on, you can also see that I extended the platform right here. I finally have this going to where, well, what is, I guess, the edge of this kind of section of the platform. My idea is that these lines are here to just demarcate, like this is where you can land a small ship, which is why I have the TIE Fighter landed there, and I think that it looks pretty freaking cool. So moving forward, these bricks are just kind of going to come out here, and they're actually going to intersect with this build right here. So you can see this is not a snot build, which is pretty different for this area of the MOC, considering I've been pretty much doing this entire landing platform snot. But the idea is there are a lot of these grill tiles, and those are pretty much going to line up with this white line going all the way up to the top of the MOC. So that's where that'll stop, and then that's obviously where that will stop as well. And then on the other side, it'll continue with the snot bricks. So that's working out pretty well. I ran out of these shiny, I guess, metallic silver grill tiles, which is kind of annoying, but I'm pretty sure I have some more on the way. So once I get those in, I'll finally be able to finish up the trim and then have that go all the way over, and then just kind of start expanding into this area of the MOC. A few things I'm going to have to consider when I'm like building over in this direction is, obviously those orange lines are meant to demarcate where a building is going to be. It probably won't be exactly right there, but just to give me a rough idea of where the building is going to be. And then also there's like basically some trees and like a small garden right here, so I'm going to have to make sure I implement that, and I'm pretty excited about that. I feel that adding a lot of those red leaf elements will definitely break up kind of the monotony of all the grays in this MOC, and of course there's some yellow, but I think red will just contrast with it really well. And I'm like really excited to get towards that part of the MOC, so hopefully that'll be coming up soon. Moving over to this side, I started working on a lot of those, I guess, barriers that line the edge of the MOC. When I was playing the game recently, I actually realized that there really aren't any of those along this side. So I'm thinking, I bought a bunch of these parts, these like 1x2x5 bricks with the garage door slot in it. And I'm realizing I'm probably not going to use most of them, which kind of annoying, but I'm sure I'll find some other use for it. But I'm glad I at least know I'm going to for sure going to have enough parts to be able to do all of those barricades on the edges of the MOC, which is pretty exciting. And now let's go over to what is probably the biggest change in this MOC this week, and that is this big wall. I've been talking about this for a while, and I'm glad I finally was able to at least start it. For the most part, this is what it's going to look like. In fact, I'll pull up a picture of a comparison of what it looks like in the game and what it looks like here right now. And you can see that I tried to remain pretty faithful to the reference material. Obviously, in the game, this wall is much longer, so rather than 3 of these trapezoids, there are 5 of them. But I think that this captures the essence of the wall pretty well, in my opinion. One thing to consider is that right now, it's really just propped up on these white, I think it's 1x6x5 bricks. That's not going to be the case down the line. In fact, when this is finished, it's actually going to be mounted at a slight angle, and then there's going to be the exact same pattern on the other side where the AT-AT is coming from, which means that I'm going to have to figure out how to get this thing on some hinge bricks and then have it kind of locked into place. That way I can have this at an angle. I wanted to give you guys a more close, in-depth look at this wall. This was not as straightforward as I would have loved to have been, but hey, this is Lego, that kind of stuff happens. But you can see that for the most part, the bricks just kind of are built straight up, but in these middle sections, the bricks are actually built on the side. And if you can't tell what that is, that's actually a lot of those 1x8 pieces with the rail on the side, and that's what's sticking out right here, just to add some more detail on the wall, make it not look flat. And I'm pretty sure that's what it looks like in the game, so I think I'm being pretty faithful to that. But just looking at it, it fits pretty seamlessly with the wall, which was the most important thing to me. It doesn't really look like I had to do too much effort to get that assembly in there. But the gist of it was I basically built that long stack of plates, and then I used a bunch of snot bricks along the sides of here to just put it in there, and then there's tiles on this side, so the studs obviously don't interfere with the assembly right next to it. And I think it worked out pretty well. I think it gives it a lot more depth, and it just it kind of breaks up the monotony of the shapes in it. I don't know, it makes for a nice little small design in there. And then finally down here, I used a lot of those 1x4 bricks. I don't know the exact name, but it has a little slot kind of cut out of the middle of it, and that's what I used to recreate the little indenture right there at the bottom of the wall. And overall, I'm really happy with the way this thing looks. This is something that I've been looking forward to building, as you guys can probably tell by the fact that I mention it every single week, and I'm glad that it's finally in some way, shape, or form done on this side of the MOC. And then, as I progress towards that way, I'm gonna basically build this exact same thing again, flip it on the other side, have them both slanted inwards, and then kind of built the border that goes around the wall, which is pretty exciting in my opinion. Last thing I wanted to talk about are these spotlights. My initial plan was to use a bunch of pieces like these to kind of build the structure of the spotlight, and they would kind of stand on the edge of the MOC like that, moving up. Then I realized more and more that even though it looks somewhat close to what it's supposed to be, the overall shape of the spotlights are actually a square and not this triangular shape, which is kind of problematic just because I'm going to have to figure out a way to feed wires up it to actually have it perform its function as a spotlight. So what that meant was that I went with another alternative, and I actually went ahead and bought a bunch of the roller coaster track pieces. I think those look do really good at kind of replicating the look of this, obviously, but they give me the ability to make it square rather than triangular. So those are going to be coming in probably tomorrow, which is great because I'm probably going to work on that immediately, and then you guys will finally be able to see this MOC honestly really fully illuminated on its own. Once I have the spotlights up, that'll be really the main source of light for the landing platform, so it'll give me a really good look at what this thing is going to look like in low light conditions. So super stoked about that. And then finally, once I start building those flower areas or the small garden area over here, I'll actually be able to implement this little doohickey that I threw together. So I think I showed this off in the last update, but this is just one of the light fixtures that are going to be sitting up really right here. I think there's 3 of them in the game. I probably only have one just because there's not a ton of space over there in this MOC. and this is just gonna be fully lit up, guys. So I know you guys like the lights. I love the lights, and I can't wait to add more of them to this MOC. So let's go ahead and move to the end of the video. All right, guys, that's gonna finish up this week's video. I really hope that you enjoyed the progress that I got done. Moving forward, I would like to start working on the landing platform and extending it towards that way, and really just finishing it all up, just so I can finally place that Lambda class shuttle exactly where it needs to be, figure out where the minifigs need to be, and of course where the cargo crates need to be. The spotlights are probably something I'm going to be working on pretty extensively next week, so you guys can expect a lot of illumination in next week's episode, which I know a lot of you do appreciate. And then finally, I would love to start finally working on those steps that kind of trail up to where the bulk of the city is, so that'll be nice to finally get started on and hopefully get a lot of progress done on that. And then we can also consider some of the barricades that are going to have to be erected kind of on the pathway to where the big tower is. So lots of exciting things going on this MOC so far. Once again, I'm just loving the progress of it. The fact that I finally have a solution to putting lights in the MOC is really great, because I've just been coming up with so many cool and unique ideas on how to integrate them, as well as just different techniques on how to actually get them into various builds. So lots of stuff like that going on, and I just could not be more excited about working on this MOC right now. So that's going to finish up the video, guys. Like I always say, if you like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.